Last week, I talked about the 127 sale and why you guys want to mark that event on your calendar for next year. I was joined by three of my favorite creative souls: Angela from Dogwood Exchange, Tara from the Reclaimed Ranch, Sylvia from Backyard Brushes, and Julie from Dirt Road Relics. We took you behind the scenes of our recent adventure at the 127 sale, also known as the world's longest yard sale. So, from road trip shenanigans to friendly battles over rusty treasures, we spilled all the thrifty tea. What we were hunting for, what we scored, and, maybe what we fought each other for, and how shopping alongside other creatives brings a whole new level of inspiration. So this week, you guys, if anyone has ever felt completely drained, completely empty, or like the spark you used to have was a little dimmed, we've all been there, right? We love what we do, but sometimes the constant creating, planning, and pushing can take more out of you than you truly realize. That's when self care has to step in. But here's the twist: self care doesn't have to look like Instagram tells you. It's not always about candles and spa days. For me, honestly, you guys, self care means throwing on my old Converse, grabbing a coffee, and heading off to a long day's treasure hunt. If you've ever felt like this, then stick around for this episode.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrook.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled, the podcast where we celebrate creativity, vintage charm, and decorating with heart. I'm your host, Sonnet Ellenbrook, and I want to thank you all for joining me today. If you guys are new here, I love to interview creatives and other small business owners. And today we're diving into something every creative person needs, but often forgets about, and that's self-care for your creative soul. Now, when I say self care, I'm not talking about bubble baths and face masks. Those are wonderful too. I'm talking about the kind of self care that just completely fills your heart, reignites your inspiration, and makes you excited to create again. For me, that recently came in the form of the road trip to the 127 sale. I was asked by Angela from Dogwood Exchange to come down and be part of her first retreat. And you guys, she put on an amazing retreat. Um, but it was perfect for me. I love being surrounded by other creatives. I love thrifting, and it was exactly what I needed. Now, you may all think it looked like 3 days of junkin and treasure hunting, but for me, it was so much more than that. It was my way of refueling, reconnecting, and doing something just for me. No guilt, no agenda, just pure joy. So, if you've ever felt that burnout, feeling completely uninspired, or like you're running on empty, this episode is your permission slip to step away, refill your soul, and do something that lights you up from the inside out. And honestly, you guys, I am sharing how my time at the 127 sale wasn't just about junkin. It was my version of refueling. It refueled me creatively, mentally, and emotionally. The time away, the laughter, the thrill of the hunt, and just being surrounded by my people reminded me why I love what I do. So, in the weeks leading up to the sale, or before the sale, my days were just completely a blur of deadlines, constant um planning of content, nonstop creative output. I love my business, you guys, but there's a side of being a creative entrepreneur that people just don't always talk about. It's the constant pressure to stay inspired, keep producing. You just can't wait around for that next idea just to show up. You've got to keep delivering, whether you're in the mood or not. And after a while, that can wear you down. I could actually feel myself slipping into like autopilot, creating because I had to, not because I was truly excited. And I just needed a break. And it was interesting after I did my podcast last week, after I put out my video for the 127 recap, I had so many viewers and listeners say this, I'm so glad that you stepped away. I'm so glad you did something for yourself. You're always giving. And that's so true. And I felt like when I was at the sale too, or at the retreat, like I said, I love being around all these other creatives, and there were so many amazing ladies there. It's amazing to see like what they pick, what they're going to do with it, what they're doing. Do they have a business? Do they do this on their own? And then just seeing them all create in the evening was so much fun as well. Jane showcased a technique that I had no idea about. And another gal, Rachel, she actually brought all different supplies so that people could purchase those from her, and she showcased like how to use paint inlays. So rather than me having to ship everything, she volunteered, and it was so sweet of her, because I had agreed to bring all those supplies, but I was going to ship them to the retreat, and because she lived local, it was just the perfect thing that she could offer. So, but yes, everybody was able to do and make, I guess, do what they wanted and get out of the retreat what they wanted and refill their creative souls as well. So I started noticing that, leading up to the retreat, though, I started noticing that the ideas just weren't coming as easily. I wasn't as excited about projects I normally would have been over the moon about. Even the little things like pulling out supplies or filming just felt heavier, you guys, than they actually should. That's when I knew I needed this break. I needed to refuel, and refill my own cup before I could pour into anyone else's. So, for those who've never been to the 127 sale, it is honestly incredible. It's several days long, and it's a yard sale that stretches for hundreds and hundreds of miles. So just picture like winding back roads lined with tables, tents. There's barns, just fields full of just treasures. Whether it's like rusty and crusty items, vintage enamelware, vintage furniture, chippy. I love chippy furniture. Just, those quirky finds you didn't even know you needed. You will find them there. Or quirky finds that you definitely don't need. Um, but for me, it was just honestly a mix of nostalgia, excitement, and just a pure possibility. Every stop was like opening a new creative door. It was so fun going into every single booth. It just brought back so many memories too of myself setting up for different vendor events and what all of these people had to go through. I spoke to so many of the vendors that had really elaborate displays, and I'm like, I give you guys so much credit. Many of them are not local. They drove hundreds of miles just to get to wherever they were and then pop up their tent and their display. They had trailers. Many of them were actually having someone go back and get a second load because this sale, you guys, is amazing. And many of them, well, they will never sell out, but they definitely need to restock. So where we were in Crossville, it was it gets a two-part event, really. So the weekend prior, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like that whole weekend and, first week, people set up early. So we were there for the early birds, or the early, I guess, early shopping. And the sale actually started Thursday. It was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a long week for those that set up early and then continue on for the normal sale. So like I said, I give them so much credit. And then there's, the people that, like I said, the people that attended the retreat. I was just surrounded by friends who really see things and see the world like I do. Just who get like why I get excited over a table of Crocs and why that makes my heart skip a beat, or why you'd wrestle over the same piece of vintage ironstone, those old paintbrushes, or anything rusty and crusty. They understand me and why I have a love of all these things. They just get me, I guess, is a good way to put it. But we all laughed, until our cheeks absolutely hurt. We all were swapping ideas. Uh, the best was when we encouraged each other to purchase something that we found when we were on the fence or second guessing, like, did we really need it? And the group's like, yes, you do. You need it. But our time together was exactly what I needed to refuel my creative soul, you guys. I came home with more than just treasures. I came home with a heart that felt full again. And I like to think of creativity as a well. You can keep drawing from it for only so long before that dries out. Unless you take time to refill it, and you just have to take that time. And here's the thing, that refilling doesn't always happen while you're still sitting in your workspace waiting for that inspiration. Sometimes you just got to step away entirely. Give your mind a new view, a new sound, a new energy. You just have to step out of what is the normal for you. Breaking your routine, whether that's, traveling like hundreds of miles away, going to a market, or just changing up your scenery, can truly wake up parts of your creativity you didn't even realize were dormant. Honestly, I didn't think I was uninspired until I was halfway through the trip. And that's when I realized that I felt this wave of excitement about projects again. That's when it truly hit me. This wasn't a distraction from my work. This was part of my work, the part where I pour back into myself so I can keep showing up for others. This was truly, you guys, though, my version of self care. And, my version really is thrifting, like the 127 sale, thrifting my way down a country highway with friends. But yours might be completely different. So I want you to think, maybe it's taking a class in something that you've always wanted to try, spending a day in the garden, wandering, maybe through a museum, or just having a quiet morning to paint without a deadline. The key is just figuring out what actually lights you up and make space for that. Don't wait until you're burnt out to plan these moments. Put them on your calendar the same way you would a work meeting. And when you can, make it social. Being around other creatives multiplies that inspiration. It's like feeding off each other's spark. Remember, it doesn't matter if it's a big trip or a 1 hour break. What matters is that it was intentional and just for you. So, if you take anything away from this episode, let it be this: self care for your creative soul is not selfish, you guys. It's necessary. Your work, your ideas, and your joy all flow from that same source. And you can't keep giving if you're empty. My trip to the 127 sale was my way of refilling back up, refilling back up that creative cup. Your version, like I said, might look completely different, and that's the beauty of it. We are all different. We are all unique in our own individual ways. So I want to hear in the comments, I want to hear what your 127 sale is. That thing that you do that makes you feel like yourself again. So, like I said, let me know in the comments, what is your 127 sale? Well, I can't go to the 127 sale like every month. So I would say like thrifting in general for me is my, like does truly refill my creative cup, you guys. So, and this week, you guys, I want you to carve out just one thing that is purely for you, even if it's small. Even if it feels like you're in being indulgent, just do it for yourself. You'll be amazed, honestly, at how much lighter and more inspired you guys feel. But I want to thank you all, first and foremost, for hanging out with me today. And until next time, I want you to go out, rescue, reimagine, and then take care of that beautiful creative soul of yourself. So that's it for this episode today. And, I hope that my story from the 127 sale has reminded you that self care isn't selfish, it's essential. Whether, like I said, whether it's a trip, a day in the garden, a workshop, even a few hours for your favorite hobby, the important thing is that it's for you. So your creativity, your energy, and your joy all flow from that same source. And when you take time to refill that source, you're able to show up better and everything and for everything and everyone else. Okay. So my challenge for you, like I said, is to find your version of that 127 sale. If you don't know what it is, you go out and figure it out. And it doesn't have to be big or expensive, just something that makes your heart happy and your creativity come alive. All right. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. I truly appreciate it, you guys. And next week, I am not sure what's going to happen. I had been on the road. I don't have anybody lined up just yet to do an interview. So it might be just me. Otherwise, if I can get somebody to interview, I will definitely bring on another creative. Again, it's one of my favorite things to do every other week. I'm trying to get back in the swing of things, but we will see you guys in the next one, and you have yourselves a great evening. Bye.